All right. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. This training is going to be strictly related to Zoom. And the reason I really want to do this is because there are many of you that you're ordained, you are destined to be doing presentations, to be having Zoom meetings, even if you're having them with your team. So you want to be in a position where you can definitely feel comfortable about doing that. Because if you have a new member that comes on board, and let's say you need to do the sales academy with that member, or you're onboarding that person, well, guess what? Zoom is one of the ways to do it, especially if they don't live in the same city. Now, if they're in your city and they're living in your area, and you can drive and be face to face, that overshadows everything. But in many cases, because of the kind of company that we are, you will have new business partners in other parts of the country and soon to be in other parts of the world. So first and foremost, you got to have a Zoom account. So I'm not going to assume that everybody that's here already has a Zoom account. So this is the website that you go to get a Zoom account. And you can it's a free account. And that's how you can start off with everything that we're doing tonight. And I'm going to show you what's in a free account. That's what it's going to look like. When you go to www.zoom.us, it's going to look like this. And you're going to click where it says sign up free. When you click sign up free, it's going to tell you, let's get started. And it needs your email address. You put your email address. As you can see here, you're getting a free basic account. And it's going to send an email to you. And that email is going to be a verification code. It's going to be a 6-digit code that you've got to copy and paste or either write it down and come back to the Zoom page and type it in there. And it happens immediately. Doesn't take any length of time for this to take place. Once you do that, it's going to log you into the Zoom account. And so now that's where you actually create your account and put in your name and your last name and your password. Once you do that, now you have your own Zoom account. Now, as you notice, we went to the browser, whether you're using Google Chrome or whether you're using Edge, Microsoft Edge, that's how we did that. But after you do that, then you want to download, it's called the Zoom client. You want to download it to your computer. And you're going to hear me say computer because I'm not talking about what you're doing on your phone. This whole teaching and training is going to be related to what you do on your laptop or your desktop and maybe on your tablet, because you need the space. Anytime you're going to be doing a Zoom presentation, and I'm not talking about you just watching a presentation. No, we're moving to another level. This is not about watching a presentation. Anybody can do that and not have to know this information. But if you're here watching this, you are thinking about going to the next level, presenting, doing a presentation, meeting up with a customer, meeting up with a new business partner, all right? So you want to download Zoom to your computer so it'll be sitting right there on the desktop. Now, can you do it on the browser? Can you continue to go to zoom.us? Yes, you can continue to do that, but it's a lot easier if it's sitting right there on the front of your computer, which is called the desktop of your computer, and you can just double click. And you'll be able to do that even when you attend Akana Zooms. It just makes it easy to access. And you'll go through the download process. You'll click that download button there, and then it begins to download, and you'll see the icon sitting there. And no matter what kind of computer you have, whether you have an Apple or an Android, I mean a Windows computer, either way, you can still download Zoom. Once you do, now you have a Zoom account. And as you can see here, it's a Zoom account. It says that it's a free account. And so we're going to go through some of the things that you might not be aware of that you're able to do with Zoom, because most of us just do the simple stuff. It's kind of like having our phones. We have a whole lot of features on there, but we only do one or two things. We call somebody and that's it. You know, we might be able to merge a call, doing a 3-way call, but we should be able to do and know how to do a few more things that will really make it easy for you to use Zoom. So here is the Zoom account once you've logged in and what it looks like. So I'm going to go first to the profile. The profile page is where you see your information, and you'll have to add your phone number to this profile page and just follow the yellow arrows that you see pointing to each thing on the screen. Add your phone number, determine what language you want. And I say that because you might share this with somebody that lives in another part of the country, and maybe their native language is not English. The time zone, definitely that could be different, because if you're on the East Coast, you want your Zoom account to be set up for your time zone. So you don't have to figure out when are you having the presentation, or when are you meeting up with your client. So put it in your time zone. The date format, pretty much we keep that the same. Most of us understand month, month, day, and year. And so you can keep that. But there, again, there's some countries that prefer other date formats. And then you want to have what we call a personal meeting ID. Now, the personal meeting ID is what many of you often call and say, okay, Dr. Roz, where is this Zoom going to be? Well, you know what the meeting ID is for this Zoom? It's 312-888-0420, right? And we have decided at Akana to use that personal meeting ID for all of our Zooms, because back in the day when we did it, you had one ID for one meeting and another ID for another meeting, and it made it complicated, and you had to keep looking at your paperwork to figure out which Zoom is it on. Now, when you have your own Zoom, you have your own personal meeting ID. Now, with a free account, you can't pick what that number is. With a paid account, and you'll hear me say a few differences as we go along, you are actually able to create your own numbers, like we did here at Akana, 312-888-0420. You don't think they gave us 0420 to go along with our company, right? So we were able to create that because, of course, Akana has a paid account. But when you have the free account, the Zoom is going to give you your number. So in this case, this number is 897-3-768-674. So that means that's the number you're going to give out to people when you invite them to come to your Zoom. And then you're going to also be able to give them your password. And you can notice here, you have to save all of this, and I don't want to miss a step. So you don't just put this in here. You want to say, I want to use this personal ID for instant meetings. Now, what is an instant meeting? An instant meeting means it wasn't scheduled, because you have an instant meeting and you have a scheduled meeting. An instant meeting is a meeting that maybe you just met somebody and say, look, hey, let's jump on Zoom. I do this all the time. Sometimes people think you have to have it scheduled. You do not have to have it scheduled. You can jump on your Zoom any time you want to at the last minute, and that's called an instant meeting. So you want that same number to be applicable no matter when you do it. If you schedule it for 3 days from now, or 5 weeks from now, or immediately, you're going to be using that same number. That's called your personal meeting ID. So when you check that box, you're saying to Zoom, every time I get on at the last minute and it's an instant meeting, it's going to be the same number. And of course, then you hit save. Now, before I get into the sharing of Zoom, which is what most of us are privy to, most of us see that all the time, where we're on a Zoom like we were earlier this morning, and on Mondays and Tuesdays and Saturdays and Sundays. I want to go through the settings, because now this is going to be your own Zoom account. And there's some settings that you need to know about that happen in the background. See, most of us just see it happening, but we don't know how it happened. So if you go to the settings, there's some things you don't have to worry about, some things you don't have to change. Some of these little blue dots will already be clicked and you don't have to mess with them. So I'm going to only address the ones that I want you to be aware of, that you can decide whether you change them or not change them. And then I'll lead you towards the ones that I think you probably should make a change to. But you have to go to the settings over on the left-hand side. So once you click settings, now you're going to see all of these categories: general, meeting, AI companion, recording, audio conferencing, Zoom apps, whiteboard. Okay, you see that going all the way across the top. So let's look at waiting room. Now, how many of you experienced the waiting room? Have you been on a Zoom where somebody put you in the waiting room and you had to wait to be let in? Now, sometimes that's what you want. Sometimes you want it, sometimes you don't. Or if you are a person that you think you want that all the time, then guess what? In your settings, you can click that and turn it on. So every single time you have a Zoom, people have to wait in the waiting room. That's a preference. That's a choice you can make. But just know, if you turn this on, you've got to let people in. If you turn this on, the worst time to turn it on, and I'm going to show you how you can turn it on just by itself so it's not on all the time. But if you click it here in the settings, it's going to be on all of the time. The worst time to have it on is if you don't have anybody working your Zoom with you. You don't have a Zoom partner, because you've got to have a Zoom partner. Because if you're in the middle of doing your presentation and then somebody comes in that waiting room, then you got to watch and you got to stop and you got to click and let them in. So you don't want that to happen. So most of the time, it's better to leave it off so it's not on all the time, because you can turn it on per event if you decide you want the waiting room on. Meeting passcode, that's the next thing. What is the passcode? That's the same as password. So it's here where you notice it says passcode for already scheduled meetings. And you see the word team. So I put team as the passcode for this particular Zoom. And there's a little pencil. That pencil, once you click it, you can make that passcode be whatever you want it to be. What was the passcode to come into this Zoom today? B $B 2025, right? When we have our wellness coach meetings, there's a different passcode. So you can set a passcode, keep that passcode for everything that you do. And then you won't have to worry about what people, especially your team members, well, what's the passcode? What's the passcode? No, it's going to be the same passcode for your meetings, all right? And that, use that little pencil, click it, and you'll be able to change that passcode. And you can, however you type it, that's the way it's got to be. If you type all capital letters, they've got to type all capital letters. If you type all small letters, they've got to type all small letters. If you type one capital letter, and like it is here, that's exactly how it has to be typed. Because if a person on this one typed all caps on TEAM, they couldn't get in. It has to be capital T, small letter EAM. So you want to make it as simple as possible. Then when you get down to the next thing, the next golden arrow that you see there, you see where it says show that passcode. And that's for your personal meetings, for your immediate meetings, your instant meetings, and you'll see the passcode that you chose. You can click show and it'll show right there. So we're going to go a couple of slides down. We don't want to change anything. Right now, we're going to go to schedule meeting. This has to do with the host video. You see it's off. This button being off means that when the host, which is you, gets on the Zoom, your video will be off. If you turn it on, it means your video is going to automatically be on. It's again your option. I suggest you leave it off because you might not be completely together or have it already, and then you can turn your camera on when you're ready to turn it on. So, but it still is your option. Participants video, same thing. This, if it's on, it means every time somebody comes on, their video is going to automatically be on. And again, you probably don't want that to be the case, okay? But I just do want you to know that you do have the option of setting up. Remember, this is your settings. This is how you're setting up your entire Zoom. So leave it off so that in case they're not completely presentable, we won't have a problem. Moving on down the list, we have allow participants to join before the host. A lot of times I'll have this one turned on because if you're running late, you don't want to hinder other people from getting on. But again, it's your preference. If you don't want anybody to jump on before you get there, then leave it off. This allows the participants to join your Zoom before you show up. Now, they can't do anything because they're not in control. But it just allows them to not have to wait for that little circle that says waiting on the host. You've seen that, right? Waiting on the host, waiting on the host. I suggest that if you are hosting, you're supposed to show up first. I'm just saying. You're supposed to get there, not at the last minute. I try to get on Zooms at least 10 minutes ahead of time. But just in case, if you feel like you want, especially with your team, you might want them to jump on no matter what, because they may start dialoguing and have, but again, this is preference. Everything we're talking about now is preference. Moving on down, we're going to go to where it says mute all participants when they join a meeting. It's really good to have this one on because a lot of times people are not aware that their mic is hot, that their mic is on. And so when they join the meeting, you really don't want their mic on at that particular time. You want them to have the ability to cut their mic on. So it's good to have them muted. I always like to have people muted when they join the meeting, okay? And I'll still show you how you can do this even in the midst of a live meeting. But this is how you can set it up ahead of time, and it's already done. You won't have to think about it. Okay, everything else we're going to keep the same. Now we're going to go to here where it says sound notification. This is in the meeting basic. Sound notification. And we're still in settings. We haven't moved out of settings. We're just going down the page, and I got a few on the page at a time. But just know when you look at it, you're going to be going down, down, down to see all of these different settings that you can do. Sound notification when someone joins or leaves. You have the option again of cutting this on. And I just wanted to highlight it and show it to you. But don't do it. Don't cut it off because you don't want to hear ding every time somebody joins or ding every time somebody leaves. But just know it's an option. Moving on down. All right, here we go. Allow host or co-host to rename participants in the waiting room. Every participant should have the ability to rename themselves. They might jump in and it might say their phone number, or it might say their something that they don't want and they want to put their name. How many of you have joined and your name wasn't there? And you're able to go and rename it, but you're only able to do it because you're allowed to do it. So you want to have this one on. See, some of these things don't automatically come on. So that's why I'm going through these settings, because some of these you need to turn on. You want the host. When I jump on and I'm using Akana's corporate site like I am tonight, it says Akana admin. So you would know who that is. I always let them put my name so you know who that person is. It could be any of the Akana administration persons. So you want to allow the host or the co-host to rename. And then even sometimes in this situation, you can help the other person. If I'm the host and you come on and you don't know how to do it, because this is on, I can actually go to your name and rename it for you. You tell me. I do that in sometime in our meetings, and they say, I'm so-and-so and so-and-so, and they don't know how to do it. So, you know, I don't want to have to wonder who that person is, especially if we're having dialogue. Let's keep on going down. Okay, that covers everything we're going to cover in that part of settings. The last part of settings that I want to cover is recording. Now, notice that it says local recording. Local recording means that when you hit the record button, and I definitely will show you how to do that. When you hit the record button, what you're going to record is going to be saved locally. What does that mean? That means it's going to be saved on your computer. If you are the host and this is your account, it's going to be saved on your computer. Now, I like everything to be saved in the cloud because then I have access to it. I don't have to call you up and say, can you send it to me from your computer? But unfortunately, with a free account, you don't have that privilege. You don't have that choice. With the free account, you can only save things to your computer. And that's okay, because if you're just having meetings for yourself and you're having meetings for your team and you're having presentations for somebody that you met, then you're going to save that recording and you have it, you have access to it, and you'll be able to get it yourself on your own computer. But if you're one of those persons that you want to at some point get to the next level, then you'll have to get a paid account. And that's the only way you'll be able to save things to the cloud. The reason that we have access to everything is because with Akana, we're able to save everything to the cloud and be able to access it no matter who's having the meeting. When Dr. Betty has a meeting, when Doris Mosley has a meeting, when Melissa has a meeting, when the Flat Belly Lifestyle has a meeting, all of those are separate, but they're all in one place, saved in the cloud. Automatic recording. Now this one is a iffy one, do or don't. A lot of times people forget to hit record. So if you turn this on, soon as you start the meeting, it's going to start recording. Soon as you hit and sign in to Zoom, recording is going to start. And that's one way that you can make sure that it's recorded. The only problem I have with automatic recording is that we often do a lot of other stuff before we really start the meeting. We do a lot of hellos and a lot of chit chatting and a lot of pulling up the PowerPoint. And you might not want that in your recording. So that means you've got to do some extra work in getting it edited and taking out the conversation, all of that. But if you don't have a problem with that and you keep forgetting to hit record, then you need to go to your settings and turn on automatic recording. And that way it's on all the time. All right, so we're done with settings. Now let's get into meetings. Meetings. You're scheduling a meeting. Scheduling a meeting. You've decided that you're going to meet with your team every Friday at a certain time, or you've decided that you're going to start doing a presentation on Saturday evening at 3 p.m., or you've decided you're going to, at the last minute, meet with somebody and you want to go ahead and pre-schedule it. That's what meetings are all about. So as you can see here, when you go to meetings, you click schedule a meeting. When you click schedule a meeting, now you're going to put what's the name of the meeting. Is the meeting team meeting or meeting with June or whatever it is? When is it? How long is it going to be? And here's something you've got to be aware of. For the free account, you are only allowed 40 minutes per meeting. It will shut you down. And then you have to come back up and do another 40 meetings. You can do as many 40-minute meetings as you want to, but at minute 40.1, your meeting is over. All right. And it does give you a warning, unless you know you got 10 more minutes. It does give you a countdown, but with the free account, you're only allowed 40 minutes. Then you want to put, again, when you're scheduling this meeting, time zone, and the default time zone that you put in the settings is going to show up there automatically. And then you want to decide whether you want it to be in the meeting ID. Do you want Zoom to generate an ID, or do you want to use that same personal meeting ID? Please know that when you schedule this meeting, you have to click that button to say, I want it to be that personal meeting ID, because you want it to be the same. You don't want to confuse people. You don't want to confuse your team members. And every time they have a meeting, you got to send out another email so that they can get a brand new number. But you do have to click personal meeting ID. Otherwise, Zoom is going to generate a brand new number. And people won't be able to find you because you'll be logged in to your normal number and they'll be looking somewhere else. So you do have to press that whenever you schedule your meeting. So you want to click personal meeting ID. And then you're going to type in there the passcode. You'll see that passcode that's already in there because you set it up prior to. And in this case, the waiting room is on. But if you unchecked it, the waiting room would be off. Then you got to determine whether is this a recurring meeting or not. Is this a meeting that you're going to have every day? Is this a meeting you're going to have every week or every month? Or maybe you're going to have a recurring meeting, but you don't have a particular time. You have this option here when you are scheduling your meeting. So if you're going to meet with your team every Sunday, or you're meeting with a person every week, every month, this is where you put it, and you'll have that ability for it already to be made up, for it to already be scheduled without you having to schedule it every single week. Zoom will automatically do that for you. So choose daily, choose weekly, choose monthly, or choose no fixed time. And then once you've done all of that, hit save. When you hit save, it's done, and it looks something like this. Now your meeting has been scheduled. And as you can see here, this meeting has been scheduled. And now you're ready to either start the meeting, or if you want to send some invitations out to people, if you click copy invitation, guess what? It's going to create an invitation for you to mail out, to email to people, to post, and you're able to send that out to people. Now, we suggest anytime you post, if you do post a meeting, that you don't post the password. Back in the day, here at Akana, we had some what they call Zoom bombers. Yeah, they bomb your meeting, and we didn't have some really good experiences with that. People would come in, and because we were the kind of organization we are, they were saying some negative connotations and writing on our screen and opening up their mic and saying some nasty things. So those people are out there. They don't have anything else to do. So that's why you all see us make posts and say, ask your upline for the password, or text to get the password. That's why we don't publicize our passwords. That's, you might not have known why we didn't do that, but that's why. And then if you decided you need to change something in this meeting, you see it says edit. That's how you go and change something in the meeting. If you change your date, you change the time, you can go back. You don't have to recreate it again. Just hit edit and you're able to change that. And once you do any of that and you have several meetings posted, here's what it looks like under meeting. Here it shows all the upcoming meetings that I have scheduled right here. You see there's a meeting from 2 to 3, and then there's, and all of this is under meetings. So you got a meeting from 2 to 3 here today, and then you've got a meeting from 3 to 4. Now notice that one says occurrence 1 of 7. What does that mean? That means that's a recurring meeting. And that's the first one of 7 different meetings. And you see later on, you see tomorrow, those were daily meetings, 2 of 7. And the list goes on and on. And then here at the bottom is the recurring meeting that had no fixed time. Remember it says no fixed? Yeah, that's what no fixed looks like. It's recurring, but it doesn't have a particular time that it's going to take place. Now go up to the top right-hand corner. If you're looking at the top right-hand corner, you see a red box. This is how you can actually start your meetings. And you see when you click host or click the little arrowhead next to it, here you have a choice of starting your meeting with your video off, with your video on, or screen share only. If you just want to screen share like I'm doing today without the video portion, then you can just actually set that for that particular meeting. Remember, I said you can do all this in the settings for every meeting, but if you want the versatility of being able to make a decision per meeting, then here's how you do that. You can start it with your video off. You can start it with your video on. So now we're actually in a meeting, just like we are today. We're actually in the meeting, and that's what it looks like once you logged in and you're live. This is the picture of a live meeting. So when you see the live meeting, let me say this, the worst thing you could probably do is to try to do live meetings with your phone. Because with your phone, you just don't have the flexibility. You just don't have the access. And I know sometimes we get caught like that, but it's harder to do because you can't just visually see everything. You need screenage. You need some width. Because if you notice what's on the bottom of this, you see unmute, start video, security, participants, chat, share the screen. All of this stuff is here that you have access to use. So you need to have it, even if you use a tablet, you can use a tablet because that gives you some width to use, whether you're using an iPad or whether you're using an Android tablet, your Galaxy tablet, all of that's fine. But you just don't have the stuff that you need to use just by using your phone. Not when you're the host. When you're watching, okay, you can use whatever. But I'm talking to some people now who are stepping their game up to the next level. So now let's look at the first icon. That first one says mute. It's a microphone. This is where you turn on and turn off your microphone. Now, if you click the little arrow that's next to that microphone, you have some other options. It shows you exactly what microphone you're using. Some of you don't know what mic you're using because you don't see a mic, do you? But there's a built-in microphone in your camera. I don't use the camera on my computer, on my laptop. I use an external camera. I bought an additional camera, mainly because it had better quality and had better quality than the camera that comes in. And somebody can remind me later to kind of show you the difference in the quality of sometimes your laptop camera and an external camera. Now, that's not all of them, because some of the ones today, the newer laptops have really good quality, but I can show you you'll see a visual difference between my camera on my laptop and the camera I use for the external camera. And they're not that expensive, but as you can see here, it shows you one camera is called ProStream Webcam and the other is called High Definition Audio Device. That's the one that came with the laptop. The next thing shows you about the speakers. So you got speakers, high definition, audio device. So the names and stuff don't really matter, but it's just showing you what speakers, because sometimes I use a Wi-Fi speaker. It'll pop up in there because I want to hear things audio, visually from a distance, and I don't want to have to be just sitting in the room. Here's where you can test your speaker. Now, when you first start doing Zooms, you're going to want to do this because you want to make sure, just the other day, people were saying how they couldn't hear me that good. And finally, I went to the test speaker and microphone, and I saw that the lever, it's just a little lever that goes up and down. It was really low. So that's why people were having a difficult time hearing me, even though my volume was up on my computer. My volume was down in the Zoom. And then the audio settings. Audio settings is where you can make any kind of changes to the Zoom. So here's what I was talking about. You see the speaker. You can turn the volume up or down. It's just a slider. You just take your mouse and slide that blue bar across to the right or left. Same thing for the microphone. And it'll let you test it so you can just see how loud you're coming across. So you don't have to shout. You can talk at a normal voice and everybody can still hear you. That's everything to do with the microphone. The next icon is the video. People sometimes have a challenge getting their video on. We learned some things just the other day that sometimes you've got to go in and do some settings to get your video turned on. And that was on your on on a phone, on a cell phone. But to turn your video on your laptop, your desktop, or your tablet, you turn and you just make sure that red bar is gone by clicking it. But also, when you click the little arrow next to it, there you'll see which camera you're using. And as you can see, I've got two cameras right there. And it'll also check by the one that I'm using today. You're able to blur your background. So maybe you're doing a Zoom and you've got some background you really don't want everybody to see. You don't want them to have clarity. Maybe you're showing your house and you're not trying to show all your fine china and your fine paintings. So guess what? You can blur those images and people cannot see exactly what's taking place behind you. It's a nice little technique. And then you do have video settings. Video settings. So in your video settings, a couple of things you can do. Sometimes when you show a picture of something and it looks like it's backwards. You ever seen that? Well, you can mirror that. I hope you can tell the difference. Look at the background. The kitchen is on the left. The other side is on the right. Now it flipped. So now it's a mirror image. That's when you check it or uncheck it. Again, that's a preference. No need to really do that. But if you had something, people say, okay, it looks backwards. Okay, well, then you might have to change it to a mirror image. Virtual background. All right, now everybody uses virtual background a lot here at Akana because we want the Akana logo in our background, or we want something else in our background. Instead of showing your house or you're showing wherever you are, you want people to see and not have their attention on that particular thing. So that's what the virtual background is. So right now it's on none, and you see a little blue frame around the word none. But if I change that to Akana, now the Akana logo is in the background. Now you may say, but I don't have the Akana logo. Well, all you got to do is ask somebody for it. You ask somebody, ask your upline for it, send me an email, we'll send you that Akana logo, and you can have it to use for really anything. Once you get the Akana logo, it doesn't just jump in here. You got to load it in here. So what do? You see there's a little plus sign over there to the right. You click that plus sign. So once you get the Akana logo, let's say I send it to your email. You've got to download that Akana logo to your computer. And once you have it on your computer and you click that plus sign, it's going to send you to open up so that you can find where you saved it in your computer. So let's just say you saved it in a folder called Akana Graphics Logo. You got that on your computer, right? So now you hit the plus sign and it's taking you to find where you saved it on your computer. And you're going to click that Akana logo and it's going to just pop into your virtual backgrounds. And now the next time you do Zoom, you can click it when you want to, or you can say none and show your background, or you can click blur and have a blur. You've got total control over what you want in your background. We're going to go to recordings one more time here under these settings because we're still at the video in the live setting, in the live Zoom. Because when you go here, I just wanted to touch on this just to show you where your recordings will go. Because you may record something and you record it, say, but I don't know where it went. Well, by default, there are places where the Zoom already sends it. Zoom will create a Zoom folder automatically for you, and all of your recordings will go directly to that if you want them to. If you don't want them to, let's say you want them to go to your video folder or you want them to go to your Akana folder, well, you're going to go up there and click change and you're going to tell it where you want it to go. I always like to be able to know exactly where things are, and I want to tell the computer where I want it to go and not have them tell me where they want it to go. So it's your option. If you're fine with it going into a Zoom folder, then you don't have to change anything. But when you click it, it's going to show you exactly a folder. A window is going to pop up just like this, and let you know where it went. All right, so now we're moving to the next one. We're going to skip over security. We don't want to mess with that. But now we're going to click the next one. So here you are, you're having a Zoom, you're having a meeting, and you got people joining, but you can't see them. Well, you got to click participants so you can see who it is that jumped on. Because when they jump on and you click participants, usually a box will pop up like this, participants. Now it's in the middle of your page, right? Well, if you're going on with your meeting, you're getting it started and you still want to see them, you can see them at the same time before you start sharing your screen. Now, once you share your screen, you won't be able to see this list. That's why it's always good to have a co-host or somebody working with you if you possibly can. But once you get started, before you get started, you do want to see who you're talking to and who you're welcoming, and you don't want to see this box in the middle of your screen. So there are 3 dots down here on the right. And when you click those 3 dots, at the bottom, it says merge to meeting window. So I've had people to say to me, well, I don't see my participants over to the right. I'll say, do you see your participants over to the right? And it's because they have this box open and it's sitting right there in the middle. And when they hit the X, it closes so they don't see it. But when you click merge to meeting window, all of a sudden, you see yourself in the middle and you see your participants over to the right because it merged them together to make you one screen. So now you see my name up there as a host. And then all of a sudden, also at participants, let's go back down to the bottom where we see the arrow pointing down. If you click the little arrow head next to participants, you can actually invite people. Oh, say somebody called you at the last minute and said, hey, I'm trying to get on. Can you send me that link? Bam. You can click right there, copy the invite link. You don't have to go look it up or just say invite and it'll give them the whole invitation. Of course, you're going to have to come out of your Zoom and go to your email and send it to them, or your phone and send it to them, or whatever device you're using to get it to them. But my point is, you don't have to go look up the link. It's right there. When you do that, you have options, and even you have options of how to send it. There it is showing you the number. Somebody says, what's the number? Tell me on the phone. You even have right here how you can choose an email service to send it to. And this will take you straight to your default email or to your Gmail or to your Yahoo. And you can send that person that information. And here it is again, copy the invite link. What does it look like? Here's an example of me clicking the copy invite link, going to my Gmail account, pasting it into the body of the email, and I could have sent that to anybody for this particular Zoom session. If I click copy invitation, it looks a little different. It has a little more formal, join the Zoom meeting, and it gives the meeting ID and the passcode for that particular Zoom meeting. And now you can send an email to anybody. And all I did was click copy invite link or copy invitation and go to your email and paste. Boom, it was right there. All right, so now we're going to slide on over to the right. We'll come back to share screen because that's really our really important point. But we're going to slide over to the 3 dots where it says more. And when you click more, we're going to talk about chat. We know what chatting is when we make comments with one another while a Zoom is going on. But when you click chat, now we want chat to pop over there to the right-hand side. So now we have 2 things over on the right. We have the participants and we have the chat. Now, while you're in the middle of a presentation, of course, when somebody makes a comment, you can see it. It pops up for a temporary moment, but in the chat, it's sitting there for the duration of the entire presentation. Now, who can see your messages? When you're chatting, do you know that you can chat to everybody? Or you can chat to a particular person who is there, depending on how many people are there. If you go to your chat and right down there on the right-hand side where it says to everyone, you click that little downward arrow. If there were 50 people there, there would be 50 names. If you click any one of those names, you can send a message in the chat that only they can see. So if you need to say something privately to somebody, you're able to do that. But when you say something and it's on everyone, be careful what you say because everybody can see it. All right. That's the beauty of having the chat. So it's everyone, or either you're going to say, send that one directly to Dr. Ross. You also have the mute all. I hit that today, mute all, so that everybody would already be muted. Okay. I'll show you where I did it so that they'll be muted before they come in. But today I made sure that I hit mute all so we could have a real clean presentation. But I also unchecked allow participants to unmute themselves. So you're not being able, if you hit unmute right now, it doesn't happen because I took that check off. We usually leave it on because we let people talk or let people interject, but we're going to open up for questions after all this is over with. So that's how you do that. That's how you can have total control. So you don't have to worry about it, especially if you're doing something by yourself. If you're doing something by yourself and you don't want to be interrupted, you don't want to have to stop in the middle of your presentation because the kid is sitting there and they accidentally hit the button, or the grown person sitting there and they accidentally hit the button, then guess what? Take that check off. But then you got to remember, when it's time for them to talk, you got to put it back on. Then you got 3 little dots down there under participants. The participants are over on the right, and those 3 dots give you other options. You can ask people to unmute. You can mute participants before they come in. So as soon as they come in, they're already muted. Remember we could do that in the settings, but I told you you could do it per meeting. You don't have to do it in the settings, but you always got to remember to do these kinds of things. You can allow participants to unmute themselves. I took that check off, so you can't. You can allow them to rename themselves. I always want people to be able to rename themselves. Play a sound when someone joins or leaves. I never want them to be able to do that. Enable the waiting room. If you want the waiting room, check it. If you don't want the waiting room, uncheck it. Hide their profile pictures. Usually it doesn't matter if people have a picture of their profile, it's okay for them to have it. But if you chose to hide it, that's fine. And last, did you know that you can lock the meeting? Yep, you sure can. You can lock the meeting. So if you said we're starting this meeting at 5 p.m. and that you don't want anybody else coming in after 5 p.m., you're acting like a professor in college campus where the doors get locked because you were late. You can actually do that. And when you click lock the meeting, I don't care, whenever you hit lock, nobody's getting in after you lock the meeting. All right. Here we go. Share screen. This is what everybody's been waiting for, I'm sure. Sharing a screen is about you doing just that. Sharing your screen. Sharing, this is how you're going to share your PowerPoint. This is how you're going to share anything you're showing somebody, your YouTube page, anything. So when you click share screen, this is what comes up. Choices of what you're going to share. Now, it's best to already have your PowerPoint on, opened up on your screen. You can minimize it. So you got a PowerPoint. Your PowerPoint is your presentation. So I'm talking to all you future presenters. You're going to have the PowerPoint for the flat belly lifestyle, or the presentation for the Saturday morning call, or the presentation for the Sales Academy onboarding training. You've got a new customer, a new client, a new business partner. So you've already got that open, and you've just got it minimized sitting down there at the bottom of your computer. And it's going to show up in this window somewhere. So all you've got to do now, since you said share screen, is highlight. You got to click it. Once you click it, as you saw how it changed, The blue is around screen. Now the blue is around Zoom training PowerPoint. So that means we're getting ready to open that one. When I click that, before I click it, there's something important that you must do. Because if you do any presentations with Asana, they also include videos. How many of you have heard a video and you couldn't hear the sound? It's because when you click the particular presentation or whatever it is you're showing, you must also check share sound. I'm going to say this again. If you do it and you don't hear that video playing, you have not clicked share sound. Now, we used to tell people that you should click optimize for video clip. No longer do I tell people to do that. Because when you click optimize or video clip, and if you're playing something and you decide while you're doing it, you're doing your presentation, and you go up to your presentation and you decide, I need to see who's here. I'm gonna look at the chat. I'm gonna look at the participants. A gray bar appears. And that's another thing I want to show you all later, what it looks like when you have that clicked and when you don't click. So somebody remind me of that one too. I told you to remind me of two things. So that gray bar shows up. Well, it gets in the way. It gets in the front of your presentation. It ruins the recording. So do not press optimize or video clip. Only click share sound. And then after you pick your which one of the squares that you want, which one of the presentations you're going to share, and click share sound, the next thing you do is click share again in the bottom right-hand corner. This is just an added plus that I just want to tell you about. You can't do this, what I'm showing you now, with a free account. You can only do it with a paid account, but I want you to know Zoom has this capability. And that is to show your phone, your iPhone. It only, unfortunately, only iPhones and iPads can use this feature. But when you press this, you're actually able, and some of you have been in trainings where I've shown you my phone or when I was teaching on the app, and you're actually seeing my phone on the screen. The only thing that has to happen is you have to use the same internet password and everything that you have on your phone as you're using on your device, your laptop. But that's just a nice feature, wonderful thing. I love using it, but you can only use it for iPhones. And then of course you just click share. Now, for those of you that want to play music, if you just want to play some music before the session starts and you don't want to show the whole screen, you just want to hear the music, but you want to still talk to people, you still want to see the people, you click advanced, and then you click computer audio, advanced and computer audio. And now you could go to YouTube and find you some music and you could play it, and nobody would ever see the YouTube page because they're looking at each other and they're talking to each other, but you're just playing music in the background. So you click advanced, you click computer audio, and then you click share. All right. Another thing that you want to remember to do in the three dots, and for some of you, you may even see it on the bottom where it says record. But if you don't see the word record, then you have to click those three dots at the bottom to get record on this computer. Again, that is only for the free accounts. For the paid accounts, it will also give you two choices: record on this computer and record on the cloud. Paid version, record on the cloud. The waiting room. I want you to know what the waiting room looks like. If you have the waiting room enabled, when someone joins, that's what you'll see. They'll be sitting in the waiting room. They do not see the presentation until you let them in, until you say admit. When you say admit, they join with the other people just like this. And you can ask them to unmute, And if you click the three dots, you have all these options. You can chat with them. You can ask them to start their video. You can pin them. Pinning them puts them in the center of the screen. You can make them the host. And when you have a free account, you can't have a co-host. So if you need somebody else to run something for you, or maybe they're going to change over, they're going to do a presentation, you actually have to make them the host. You have to relinquish your hosting and give them the ability to be a host. In the paid accounts, you can actually make them a co-host, so you don't have to relinquish your control. You can rename them, and if they get to acting up, you can put them in the waiting room. And as we had some problems in the past, we had to remove some people. And once they're removed, they actually really can't come back, because that's the way Zoom is set up. And you can actually report them to Zoom if they're an intruder and they're being disruptive to your presentation. So you have all those options just by clicking those three dots next to a person's name. So it would only be just for that person. There's a line between the participants and the chatting. And right now that line is a thin line, and I hope you can see it in between there. Well, if you put your cursor on that line, it changes it so that you can move that down further, so that you can have more space for your participants than you do for your chatting. Again, that's an option of however you choose to do it, whatever you're looking at the most. Now, at the top of your screen, sometimes it looks like a Rubik's Cube with a lot of dots, but it has the word view. And a lot of times, and let me share this, because a lot of times when people are watching presentations, they don't realize that they can control most of the time what they're watching. You can control if you're just watching the speaker or if you're watching the whole gallery. So what's the gallery? Well, the gallery is, and you can be in control of how other people see it by saying, they're going to follow whatever the host does. If the host wants the speaker seen, if the host wants the gallery seen. The speaker is whoever's speaking. And that means it'll switch. If somebody else starts talking and their camera is on, they'll be in the middle of the screen. If somebody else is talking and their camera and microphone is on, they'll be in the middle of the screen. But the gallery is related to seeing multiple people. So if there are 15 people in the Zoom, and only you see one person and you want to see all 15 and they all have their cameras on, then it's because you don't have gallery on. Gallery allows you to see everybody. Hide self view lets you hide yourself, hide your own video. Showing non-video participants. Have you ever looked at a screen and you saw people who had their camera on, and then you saw a bunch of black boxes? Well, that's because you're showing the non-video participants. A lot of times, if you want people to know how many people are actually there, their videos may not be on, then you want to show them. If you don't want them and you only want to show the people who have their video on, then you cut it off. But here's the gallery view. So it's just two people in here, and you actually see both of the people that have videos on. Now, every time a person has a video on, you have an option there. There are three little dots in the top right-hand corner of that video. And you can ask them to unmute. You can still add stop video, all these different things you can do right there. You can pin them. Pin them is opening up, making them the priority so that you can see them. And you get the same things you could do over there as a participant. You can actually do them live when they're on. And then there's this thing called immersive. Immersive. Here's another thing I want to show. That's three things I've said now. Third thing I want to show you live once we finish this training today. Immersive is an opportunity that hardly any of us have ever used or ever seen, but I think it is so cool. This Zoom has the ability to create backgrounds for you for multiple people. If you got 50 people in the house, 2 people in the house, 3 people in the house, and when you go to immersive view, it gives you these choices down here. So let's say if you clicked one of these choices, So I just clicked this choice for 2 people. Look what it did. I didn't have 2 people, but I had two videos on, 2 devices on. One's my phone and one was my my laptop. And look, it created this whole beautiful fireplace background. It's so cool. So if I want to change that immersive view, I went up to view and change it. And here's another one, a kitchen background. I didn't create this. Zoom has all of this. It's amazing. So if you're doing something together with somebody, y'all are tag teaming, here's a wonderful way. But and this is live now. You're doing this live. Now you can't be doing a presentation and this. So you're doing this live. Here's one with 4 people. Here's one with a whole lot of folks. I think this might be 25 people. I forgot what number this is. And all these folk would be filling up these chairs. So I want to do this today and see how it looks because I've never done it live where we got a bunch of people on. And then the other thing that I want to mention is breakout room. Now, what is a breakout room? A breakout room is, say, you've got several people in your Zoom and you want to go into different rooms separate. You want to go into what we call breakout rooms. You want to be in separate rooms to discuss something and then come back later. It's like going into a classroom and then coming back into a general session. That's what a breakout room is. And you can actually do that on Zoom. And once you get everybody's name, you have them already in your participants, you can actually go there and assign them automatically. When you assign them manually or automatically, you go where it says assign, and you put that person's name because you're going to see everybody's name up there. And you can put somebody in room 1, somebody in room 2, and somebody in room 3 or 4 or 5, or multiple people in one room. And when they do that, a message comes to their device, whether it's their phone or their whatever, they're looking at the Zoom on. And now they're only in the room with the persons that you put in the room with. And once you end the whole session, everybody comes back to the main room. It's like being in a big conference virtually. Last but not least, these controls sitting here at the top get in the way. I need everybody to take a special note because you're going to see these controls once you start sharing. This only comes when you share your screen. Because when you share your screen, these controls pop up to the top. And oftentimes they're in the way of your presentation. But guess what? You can move them. You click the 3 dots over on the right-hand side, and you go down to where it says hide video panel and hide floating meeting controls. This is called a floating meeting control. Now, what's the video panel? The video panel is the videos of you and somebody else and somebody else. And a lot of times you got to move them around because they get in your way. Well, guess what? You could just hide them. Hide them temporarily so that they're not in the way visually of your presentation. So hide the video panel, hide the floating meeting controls. And when you get ready for that meeting control to come back down, all you got to do is hit the escape key, ESC, that's the escape key on your keyboard. It's usually in the top left-hand corner of your keyboard. Once you hit that, that floating control comes right back. So if you need to use it for any purpose. My last 2 slides, remember, every time you do a Zoom, these are some things you must remember to do. Mute participants upon entrance. Enable or disable the waiting room. Have a co-pilot to assist you in watching the chat and muting mics and make them a co-host if you have a paid account. And hit record. Oh my God, I can't tell you how many times I've done a full presentation after it was all over with, we forgot to hit record. And last but not least, the free plan show you the difference. Meetings up to 40 minutes per meeting, 100 participants. You can use a whiteboard and chatting and mail and calendar. But when you decide to upgrade to the Pro plan, and there are several plans past this, I'm just showing you the next step up. You can now have no limit to how long that meeting can go on. See, if this was free plan, we'd already be knocked out because we've gone over 40 minutes. You can have up to 100 participants. You can even have polls and surveys and calendars. You can have a lot of different apps you can use, and you have much more storage, and you have storage in the cloud, and you can use AI companion. So there's some benefits of having a pro plan, and I just put there what it is. You have to pay if it's $13.32, you have to pay that annually. You have to do the math, $13.32 times 12, pay that annually, or $15.99 per month. That's the price on Zoom. All right, we're gonna stop sharing for a minute right here. And what do I have to remember to do? Let y'all unmute, right? There you go. And turn my camera back on. Any questions?
Dr. Ross.
Yes.
When I've set up a Zoom before, my question is where the Zoom says the HTT, like the browser, and it's giving you the Zoom. I don't understand why mine is in blue, so people can just go click on the blue. Mine's still be black. Does that make sense?
Hold on. Ask me that. Say the question again.
Okay, like if you send a Zoom, you tell us that a con is gonna have a Zoom. When you send us that Zoom information, it shows up blue.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. Okay. So the thing you have to do is when you copy the link, right?
Okay.
And you paste it. Put your cursor at the end of the link and hit return. It'll turn blue.
Okay, say that again.
Okay, let me show you. Let me show you. Hold on. Let's see. Let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna go to where did I tell y'all to go to find the link? Anybody remember where you go to find that link?
The invitation?
Yeah, where do I go to find it?
In the chat box.
In settings.
But I'm in a Zoom right now. So you're right, I could go to settings, but right now I'm in a Zoom and I need to find that link.
Participants?
Participants. I go to the little arrowhead where participants is, and I'm clicking copy invite link. So I can't show you doing it. I'm doing it now, but I'm doing it. So now I'm going to go, I'm gonna share my screen again. Wait, hold on. Let's close this. All right, so I copied that link and I'm going here to send this email to somebody and I paste that link and it's black. That's what you just said, right?
Right, right.
And if I send this to them and I go up here and type their name and send it to them, it's gonna be black. But you see my cursor blinking right there?
Right.
When I hit return, soon as I hit return, it's going to end up going to them. It'll be blue when they get it.
Oh, okay. Okay. As soon as I hit return. Okay.
Yeah. So the same thing, if I were to put it, let's say in a Word document, and I hit that paste right there. So I put it in my Word document. See how I hit return and it turned blue?
Yes. Okay. Okay. I was wondering why mine stayed black.
Yeah. All right. Really good question.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
when we get back from Chicago, I want to try. But I don't want to try with the Zoom with all the professional. I just want to try, with you, Dr. Rob. Either you and Bernadine. And, okay.
Right on, right on, right on. Okay.
Price.
Dr. Roz,
Yes.
how easy is it to do from your phone, or is that another class?
How easy to do what from your phone?
Do a Zoom presentation.
No, you can't. I mean, you can't do the Zoom presentation from your phone because, especially ours, you got videos that have to play. You got too
Right.
many controls that you can't see. You don't have access to them.
Okay, thank you.
Plus, I think it's too small.
Now, for us to do the presentation, it may be too small on our phones, but everybody else may have computers, or you may want to just use 2 devices.
Well, I mean, they can watch it however they want to. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about watching a Zoom.
Right.
See, you can watch it in whatever device you want to, because when you watch a video, you can turn your phone sideways, you can watch it this way, you can do all, but I'm talking about to have access to all of these controls. On your
Okay.
phone, you do not have access to all of these controls that I just went through.
Okay, that's great to know. We were trying to do that
Dr.
yesterday.
To watch the video all over, the recording all over again. I did take copious notes, but I was so busy writing, I didn't get to look up to see exactly what you were talking about before it changed again. But so I think you did a really, really good job. I learned some things that I did not know, but I am gonna have to look at the recording again. That way I can pause it and back it up and do all that kind of nice stuff. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. And I'm gonna stop recording.